For years, I thrived in the high-pressure business world, but the workaholic life finally caught up with me. I was 35, very overweight, in chronic pain with severe mobility issues, terrible diet, no exercise. My health was a complete wreck. Then I went to a gentle yoga class and felt truly relaxed. The stress just melted away. I went from a size 18 to a size 8. I stopped getting sick. Pain disappeared. I learned to open my heart and I felt happy for the first time in years. So I said goodbye to the business world and started teaching. Yoga doesn't have to be strenuous. The easiest movements can trigger major release of chronic symptoms no matter your age.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hello, I'm Deborah Devine, and that was my story. My health was a mess due to stress and diet. One of the chief symptoms was inflammation in my joints and even on my skin. As we age, dry skin or eczema can occur more easily because our epidermis loses its ability to retain moisture. So I've created a simple sequence of seated and lying down yoga moves to stimulate the chakras that govern moisture and heat. These are super easy poses, but don't be fooled. They're very effective. Even just 1 or 2 poses can make a world of difference. Let's start the healing. Joining me today, Isabel. Hi, Isabel. She's been dealing with eczema on her hip. And Michaela. Hello, Michaela. She's been experiencing very dry skin in a few places. Let's begin with a warm-up. Side lying over a bolster. We come down onto the ground. And if you have a yoga bolster, wonderful. A rolled up towel or blanket will do as well. We take our hip up to the long edge of the bolster, and then we keep the bottom knee bent as we drape ourselves over. You can move your hip away from the side of the bolster and let your head rest on your upper arm. We're going to open up the front of the throat here. We'll just take the arm back a little bit and let the head come back and rest on the upper arm. The chin can open up so that we get a little bit more space in the base of the throat. Top leg comes long, and top arm comes up and over. And we hold on to the top arm with the bottom hand. Now, long, slow, smooth in breaths, and long, slow, smooth, and complete out breaths. Let the leg move away from the hip. Let the hip move away from the bottom of the ribs. Feel all of this space building up in between the bottom of the ribs and the top of the hips. We're creating all kinds of space in the third chakra. This is the energy center that's responsible for heat. And when we're dealing with eczema, this is a heat and an inflammation issue. So we're using the breath to calm and cool the fires of the body. Long, slow, smooth, and complete out breaths, pausing at the end of the out breath, is very cooling and very helpful. Press the heel away and really stretch through the fingers. Open up the ribs. Feel the muscles between the ribs expanding. When we're dealing with eczema, it's very stressful, and stress actually causes more inflammation. So it becomes a bit of a vicious cycle, and we're stopping that cycle using the breath and using our awareness. Let the out-breath be complete. Feel the belly come to the front spine. Pause for a moment in that beautiful, peaceful place, and then allow the in-breath to come in and expand. Now, we'll come back up to center using the upper body strength. And just give yourself a moment to compare how the sides feel. You should be feeling very refreshed right now. We've been loosening up all kinds of tension out of the diaphragm and out of the muscles in between the ribs, so we're getting a lot deeper breaths. Let's switch sides. We take the hip right up to the edge of the bolster and get nice and long as you drape yourself over. Top leg long, top arm long, and bring the head and the neck back and rest them on your bottom arm. When we're dealing with pain that eczema causes, we get a lot of compression in the belly. The psoas muscle on the front spine, it compresses and contracts. This is the stress reflex. So we're reversing that right now with this wonderful side bend. Now, please continue to enjoy side bending over bolster. And when we come back in a few moments, we'll be dealing with more yoga solutions for eczema.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm 65 years old. I recently developed eczema. I have a small patch on my right hip. It bothers me because it's very itchy and it's really hard, to stop rubbing it. I'd love to know what to do for it through yoga. I have been doing yoga for more than 10 years. It does help me with sciatica, which I have. I also have a knee problem, and I find the stretches really help with that. And I love doing yoga. It really makes me feel great. Yeah.
Welcome back. In today's episode, we're using yoga solutions to help us with eczema. Isabel, you've been dealing with eczema for about 6 months. What did your doctor say to you?
So my doctor prescribed cortisol cream, which I didn't fill out. I didn't fill out the prescription because I prefer doing things alternatively. I'd rather try something else. I read up on the internet different things I could try. I tried coconut oil. It soothes it, but it still comes back. And when it's itchy, it's really itchy, and you just want to keep rubbing.
These next couple of poses are going to be very calming and very soothing on the nervous system. And that cycle that I was talking about, we get itchy and it becomes uncomfortable and there's a lot of discomfort, and then we start getting stressed, and then that just exacerbates the whole problem. So these poses we're going to be doing next are going to be very soothing. Now we'll come to sit on our bolster for pranayama practice, Sitali, the cooling breath. We like to take the hips higher than the knees, so that gives the low back its proper curve. And then we can lift the front part of the spine and really open the lungs to optimize our breathing. Now, we're sitting down on our sit bones. We may need to move some buttock flesh out of the way so we can really feel grounded. Let yourself get nice and long on the front part of the body. This breathing practice is very good for cooling the system. We're going to take the tongue and curl it up like a straw, and we'll be breathing through the tongue like this. Now, if you're having trouble curling your tongue this way, just let there be as much area on the tongue that's receiving breath so we can get that cooling sensation. And we're breathing through that very small space and really allowing the tongue to feel that cooling sensation, like this. Wonderful. Let's move into child's pose, supported with a bolster. We come to sitting, and the knees are apart and the feet are together. We get our bolster or a rolled up blanket in between the legs. Inhale, lengthen the front spine. Exhale, come forward, maintaining all that length that we've created, and rest the temple down. The elbows rest on the ground, and we surrender. The belly is supported here. It's a very soothing way to take child's pose. When we're coming into these types of poses, we have an experience of cooling. There's a cooling off of the brain, a cooling down of the body. And this is wonderful to help us manage the discomfort of eczema. Long, slow, smooth in-breaths, lengthening all of the discs of the spine. And long, slow, smooth, and complete out-breaths. We're getting maximum oxygen consumption here. This is where we have the highest density of air sacs that exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. We're also moving a lot of toxins out with the exhalation. This is very healing. Now, let's come up, very slowly and mindfully coming up, and we'll be moving into the frog pose. So we take ourselves onto the bolster and let the short edge of the bolster rest right underneath the bra line. The legs are splayed out, and the arms are stacked, and we rest the forehead down. The child's pose and the frog's pose are very calming and soothing poses because we are resting our bellies. And this compression really helps us move into the parasympathetic nervous system. When we're dealing with pain and discomfort of eczema, our nervous system is really kicked into high gear. We're engaged in the fight-flight aspect of the nervous system. And this exacerbates the problem. The more stressed we get, the more inflamed our lesions get. So these poses are helping us calm and soothe the body trying to cool things off, and we're also calming and cooling the brain. When we support the forehead with our hands, it has a very calming effect on our thoughts. Now we're coming into crocodile. We'll come up off of the bolster and roll it out of the way and come down onto the belly with the legs straight. Arms are stacked, resting the forehead. It's very important to keep your concentration on the breath. That really enhances the effectiveness of these poses. Now, please continue to enjoy child's pose, frog pose, or crocodile pose. And when we come back in a few minutes, we'll be working with more yoga solutions for eczema.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hello, my name's Michaela, and I'm 65 years old. I have what I thought was eczema, but it's just extremely dry skin. It's really the worst on my legs, this part of my legs, and a little bit on my forehead too, and my lips, so I guess I have quite a bit of dry skin. I had no idea that yoga would help me to improve the texture of my skin, so I'm really happy to learn new poses today that will help me with my goal of having soft skin again.
Welcome back. In today's episode, we're using yoga solutions to help us deal with the discomfort of eczema. Michaela, how are you managing your dry skin?
Well, I make sure that I have my shower with a moisturizing body wash. And I find it really gets worse in the winter because of the cold. So you have to be more diligent making sure you use the moisturizer every day.
Wow, that's a great strategy.
Yes.
And these poses that we're going to be doing are also fantastic for reducing inflammation and cooling things down. Let's come into lizard lunges using a chair as a support. So we come up to the chair with our hands either on the seat or higher on the chair back, as Isabella's doing. We take the left foot forward and let it rest so that the shin is vertical. And we may need to take our back knee back a little bit. Engage the muscles of the legs, engage the muscles of the glutes. Take the left hip back and move the right hip forward. And then we'll take the shoulder blades a little bit more square to the hips. Inhaling, lifting everything on the front of the body. Exhaling, shoulder blades come down the back and in behind the heart. Long, slow, smooth in-breaths, lengthening the front of the body. Exhaling everything down the back line. Take the sit bones down. Let the pubis symphysis and the hip points come up and really engage muscle into bone in the legs and in the pelvis. Now we're going to move into a rotation of the upper leg. We're going to move the left foot onto the side, onto the baby toe side of the foot. And we've got this external rotation going on with the left femur. This is creating a wonderful wringing out of tension in the glutes. We have layers and layers of muscles in the back of the hips. And these muscles can get very tight. When we're stressed, one of the muscles, the piriformis muscle that starts off at the sacrum and comes diagonally across the glute and attaches onto the outer part of the upper leg bone, that muscle can get very tight. So we're stretching things out and wringing things out. There's a lot of stored energy here. So we're using the out breaths to drop all of that stored energy down into the ground. Bring the leg back up to center and take the left leg back and switch the right leg forward. Lengthen and breathe. Squeeze the muscles of the pelvis and the legs. Press down into the heel of the front foot. And then we'll externally rotate the front leg. Externally rotate so that the knee comes out and come up on the baby toe side of that right foot. Let's come back to center. Bring the leg back into alignment with the hip and then bring the foot back. Now we're going to be taking a supine twist. So we'll move the chair out of the way and we have a bolster on standby. So we get the bolster on the mat lengthwise and we seat the hip right at the short edge of the bolster. The knees can be close together or they can be further apart. Experiment and make sure that you're really comfortable with how your legs are set up. And then we take an in-breath and lift on the front of the spine, and then an out-breath just turns us on the axis of the spine, but we don't go down yet. Then we inhale and lift the front of the body, and then we exhale, take the hands on either side of the bolster, and let ourselves come down, resting our temple. Rest the elbows down. These twists are extremely soothing on the nervous system. And when we're dealing with the discomfort of eczema, it can be very disturbing and very upsetting. So these twists are actually wringing out stress and wringing out tension out of the belly organs. We use our awareness to bring our attention onto the breath. That is the magic of the practice. We're not necessarily healing these lesions, but we're managing the pain and we're cooling ourselves off. We're cooling down the body and we're cooling down the mind. We're able to manage through these painful episodes of lesions in a more effective way. Now, using the upper body strength, press down into your hands and unravel very slowly and feel this wonderful fresh prana, fresh life force invigorating all of your belly organs. Then we'll switch over to the opposite sides. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, rotate on the axis of the spine. Inhale, lengthen again, and exhale, come on down, resting the elbows and resting your temple. Now, please continue to enjoy supine twists for the next few minutes. And when we come back, we'll have more yoga solutions for eczema.
Healing yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Eczema can be a sign of a distressed digestive system. Doing an herbal cleanse can take pressure off an overworked liver, kidney, or bowel.
Welcome back. In today's episode, we've been dealing with yoga solutions for eczema. We've been using our cooling breaths. We've been wringing out tension out of the spine, out of the hips, and we've been opening up the lungs so we can receive more oxygen. We've been working with the third chakra to cool the fires. You should be feeling very light right now. You should be feeling like you can breathe more deeply and for longer and really feel that sense of cooling through the body, cooling through the mind. Now we're coming into supported child's pose. We're sitting on the bolster and we have a chair handy so that we can rest ourselves forward. We'll use another bolster to support the belly. So we get the bolster set up so that it's at about a 45-degree angle. We place the bolster in our lap and the other part of the bolster is resting on the chair seat. We take a long, slow, smooth in-breath and lengthen on the front of the spine. And then a long, slow, smooth out-breath takes us forward. We can rest our temple on the bolster. If you don't have a bolster handy, let your arms come stacked and rest your forehead. Allow your breaths to be long, slow, and complete. This is very important. If any thoughts are coming up in your mind right now, just bring your awareness back to the breath. Now, let's move into Shavasana. We'll move the chair aside. And if we stack two bolsters widthwise on the mat and lay our legs on those bolsters, that is a wonderful way to feel grounded and cooled off. Use the hands to help you come down to protect your low back. Take the shoulder blades down the back one at a time and let the arms come away from the side ribs. Let the legs come away from the midline and just shake them out and give them an opportunity to settle down. If there's any pinchiness in your low back, just move your hips away from the bottom of the ribs. In this practice, we've been cooling the body and cooling the mind and grounding. When we're dealing with eczema and dry skin, it can be very uncomfortable. We're using moisturizers to help us, but if we also connect with the energy of the second chakra, this is the chakra associated with reproduction and creativity. There's flow involved here with the second chakra. When we bring our awareness to the second chakra, we're having a sensation of floating on a primordial sea of bliss. This moisture is penetrating the whole body. All of the cells, especially the skin, are moist. Take a long, slow, smooth in-breath into the feet, the legs, the hips. Breathing in light and spaciousness and feeling yourself melting into the floor like a puddle. Long, slow, smooth in breath into the back, into the belly, into the heart and the lungs. Breathing in light and spaciousness. And exhaling tension, holding, feeling yourself melting, liquid, into the floor. Long, slow, smooth in breath into the throat, into the face, into the brain. Breathing in light and spaciousness. And exhaling tension, holding. Feel the brain sink back and feel yourself melting. Please continue to enjoy Shavasana for at least another 15 minutes, and we'll see you again next time on Healing Yoga. Namaste.